Let's talk to the guy that was on the call yesterday right here on WIP, the voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Merrill Reese.
How you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing okay. Disappointed. I thought this would be their toughest game of the season so far, and it certainly turned out to be. And I never felt safe, and I said this time and time again, when they were up 17-3, I felt really strongly that they needed more points. They had to move, and you could see them bogged down, and you knew that there was trouble in store, and certainly they got plenty of trouble.
Yeah, yep. You're right about that. Go ahead, Merrill.
They lost the game because they didn't play well enough to win. They didn't stop the run. They didn't run the ball well enough. A lot of reasons. They weren't disciplined. They made too many procedural mistakes. However, so I'm not blaming the officials for the loss. However, I don't buy a lot of the explanations that I'm hearing. Maybe they had trouble communicating, but that was clearly intentional grounding. I don't care which way you look at it. That was intentional grounding, to me, the vision you got. Of course, we didn't know about the communications problems that the officials had, but to me, it looked like intentional grounding was called. Officials met, they threw the flag, and then Bo Nix came over and talked his way out of it. It just bothered me so much to see something like that happen. That was now they say they later got a call from somebody downfield who couldn't communicate because the system was out. But regardless, to me that was intentional grounding. And then when they came back at the end of the game, I think it was egregious how they missed the pass interference with Dallas Goedert. That was absolutely just awful, negligent on the part of the official.
So, Merrill, I agree with you. So yesterday it felt like there were 5 borderline or controversial calls, and I thought 3 of them I understood where the rest were coming from. The fumble early in the game, I heard you and Mike talking about that, where Bo Nix, it looked like he fumbled, but then they said the hand was coming forward. All right, that's 50-50. I thought the Bond one.
Here's the thing about that. Yep. Here's the thing about that. I could see that either way.
Yep.
But they called it a fumble on the field.
They did.
But there's enough evidence to reverse the call. I think it's inconclusive.
Perhaps it was.
Inconclusive, you stay with the call on the field.
That is true. So that one, the Dotson one by the sideline, I thought it was questionable whether he got possession with the 2 feet. And then the Bond one was a penalty, although you wish that's more on Bond. But I agree with you, Merrill. The 2 you're referencing, the intentional grounding, clearly it was. And I thought the Goddard one was the worst of them all. I mean, that's pass interference,
That
Merrill.
was definitely PI.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So, but again, and Nick Sirianni was very, very honest about things, and he was very, very said the right things. He doesn't need to have problems from the league. But Nick said these things even out. I don't think they evened out yesterday, but they, over the long haul, maybe they even out. But they certainly played a part in the game. But one of the things that Nick said, which I do agree with, you don't want to put yourself in the position where a bad call can ruin you, can help you lose, and make you lose. You don't want to be. The Eagles had every reason and every right to build on that 17-3 lead. That game shouldn't have even been close at the end.
Merrill, what was your thought on how the game expressed itself with the Eagles' offense? Over the last year plus, they have been more of a running team than a throwing team. Balance, is what they want to be, but they've run the ball a lot, and last year they ran it super effectively. And I know their run game hasn't been as good this year, but Merrill, I was surprised as the second half went on. They didn't run the ball more, and I thought the Eagles' defense, because of it, was kind of gassed towards the end. It's rare the Eagles don't win time of possession, Merrill, and yesterday they lost it by 11 minutes. What did you make of them throwing so much, especially late in the game, versus running it more?
Well, I don't buy the theory that some people espouse that they were trying just to make A.J. Brown happy. That had nothing to do with it. They put the game plan together, and they operate on what the defense shows them and what they're able to do. And they have not been able to run the ball effectively. And I think part of it is that the offensive line has obvious injuries, and they are just not playing the way they have played in the past.
Well, that is true, and it's been choppy offensively for 5 games. They are 4-1. The loss yesterday to the Denver Broncos in a close game. All right, Merrill, looking forward, short week now, which I think actually could be a good thing because there's not time to dwell on this. They got to just move off it, correct the mistakes, and they got a game in the division on the road Thursday night against the Giants. First thought on the game, Merrill. Obviously, it's a team they've beat a lot lately, and they should beat again on Thursday. Eagles-Giants this Thursday night.
Yeah, well, the Eagles are the better team. There's no doubt about it. And then when you see the Giants lose to the Saints yesterday, you figure that the Giants have their problems, but they have a young quarterback who has provided a bit of a spark, but the Eagles are clearly the better team. And I like the fact that they can play again in a few days and get it out of their system.
No question. Merrill, we appreciate a few minutes today. Enjoy.
One other thing, Joe, I just have to say. I did feel better late last night, when I watched Buffalo at home against a 2-2 team, and they went down the drain against New England. So there's no undefeated team in the National Football League.
Well, that is true. Yesterday were quite a few upsets, including the Eagles getting knocked off. Merrill, we appreciate you hopping on. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Have a good one, Merrill.
Thank you, guys.
There we go. Merrill Reese, the voice of the Eagles.